Did you hear that story?
So yeah, you were talking about.
I don't even know if it recorded that because it just suddenly stopped.
Yeah, I just saw like all of a sudden my Skype went away.
You actually sound a lot louder and clearer than you used to, but then again, you're probably also in a graveyard or a golf course or a mausoleum or a vampire nightclub or a slaughterhouse.
No, I'm actually at home. Like I was out for a little walk. I just wasn't feeling it. Too much anxiety going on, man.
Anxiety.
Yeah, I don't know. Did I tell you? I don't know. I'm not sure if I spilled my guts to you last night or not. Was it last night I talked to you? It was.
You told me about your extreme drug trip where you went to another galaxy.
Oh no. Well, that's not like. It's just like this new job. Like it's gonna be a good job, but it's weird. They pay once a month, right?
That is weird. That's hard to live
Yeah,
on.
it is until I get paid. You know what I mean? Like I started on the 7th of August, and like I don't think I'll see my first paycheck until like another like 7 days, and like I'm at that point where like literally everything has been exhausted, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna make it, man.
Do you have a
Yeah.
Venmo? I can shoot you $100 or so to get you by.
Dude, would you do like I'm not like I do have a Venmo, man, but that would like almost save my life, and I would totally pay you back. Like,
Oh, you totally
so
pay me back, huh?
absolutely. Are you sure? Like, dude, I
Kidding.
one of those people that like, but I kind of am like almost at that point where I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, if you want. What do you need? Like 50, 100?
let's see.
How is shit out there in Wyoming? Is it expensive? Are
No, not terribly, like,
are you in one of the towns that has electricity out there?
oh yeah, I got
I mean, it took you a while to get on the internet there. I'm like, do they have internet? Do they have a guy outside like cranking a handle or something?
well, it's coal burning internet.
It's what?
It's a coal burning. Our internet runs on wood, on
Oh,
steam. It's
coal
a
burning. I thought you said
steam.
Culver,
Yeah.
like they eat hamburgers from Culver's. I'm like, well, shit.
Yeah.
Culver internet. Well, yeah, you voted for Trump. That's what you get, fucker.
Oh,
He got
all right.
arrested yesterday. Did you see that?
I did. Oh, he did.
Trump.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
big
tell you
super
what, dude.
glare into
I'll
the camera on his mugshot. It was hilarious.
I'll vote for whoever you want me to vote for if you're if you're gonna float me a bone for the to
Oh
let me
boy.
survive.
Well, you know what we are?
What?
Actually, you're not. I am. I'm sitting pretty in Salt Lake City with
Yeah.
Marc, skewered from ear to eye, Hanson, and JR. It's not Serena. Ah, fuck. Come on, man.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Cough right over me.
Are you recording already?
Yeah, I started recording a while ago. Or I'll do that over.
No, you're fine. You can record my sob story.
And
Don't
JR
make
Tarina, it's not Carcass. That's the guy. So, and you're
JR
sitting pretty.
Tarina,
You what?
who I have to like JR Tarina, who's basically my sugar daddy right now.
JR, it's not Carcass Tarina, and Marc, skewered from ear to eye, Hanson. I am sitting pretty in Salt Lake City. Marc is sitting like a king in Wyoming. Hell yeah. Wyoming the merciless. Fucking A.
Ugh, I
Foolish
don't know,
humans.
man.
Hurling your bodies out into the void without the slightest inkling of who or what is out there.
I need
But
to bring you up a little bit. I'm actually too loud for my own good.
no, you
How's
sound.
that?
I usually
No,
try to be louder on these shows, and I don't have anybody living above me anymore, so I can kind of talk loud.
uh,
Some of the most recent shows I put up, I'm kind of talking like this because I'm trying to be quiet.
uh-huh.
And now I'm like, fuck you, fuck that, fuck this.
Nice,
Fuck
dude.
them.
So no one lives like you have an empty apartment above you, or did you just move
No,
upstairs?
the guy who lived above me was living there for a while because he came back from Alaska to spruce it up because he wanted to sell it, and now he sold it. So
Mm.
it's up for sale, and in the meantime, nobody's living there. And the one above that is also empty. So I'm pretty good. I just got an old man next to me, and he's fucking, I don't know what he's doing. He's got like a body in his bed or something, or I'm sure, or what. But so check
Nice.
this out. I have a little old man living next door to me,
Uh-huh.
and there was a time when this car pulled up to me, and this big black guy, gets out of this little beat up car, and he asked me who lives there, pointing to my house. Did I tell you
Mm.
this story?
No.
And he points to my house. He's like, "Who lives there? Do you know who lives there now?" I said, "Yeah, I do. I just bought that condo." He's like, "Oh, really? The people who lived there before, they died." I'm like, "Oh, really?" Like, "Yeah, the lady died in her sleep in her bedroom." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. I'm sleeping in a room where somebody's ghost is floating around." And I guess he said the guy next door to me, who is still alive, this little old man, he said, "Yeah, that guy told me he's just waiting to die." I'm like, "Who the fuck are you? Are you the Grim Reaper? Like, who is this guy?"
Yeah.
This giant black guy with this French accent comes in. "Hello, how are you today, sir?" And he starts talking to me about all this morbid shit. I'm like, "Who the fuck are you?"
Oh. Oh,
Well,
he's
that was
like a
about a year or two ago, and he said the guy next door to me is like waiting to die and stuff. And then the guy next door that cracked his window at the beginning of summer, and I have to walk by his window every day to get to my front door to go in my house or leave my house.
hmm?
And the smell coming out of there was incredible. I'm like, what is that fucking stench coming out of there? It smelled like literally like a body. Like I'm starting to picture he's got like his dead wife's body in his bed, and I'm thinking I've never seen his wife. Like, is she dead? Like he just can't give it up. Like he can't come to terms, and she's in the bed. And there's actually like a forensic files show where there was a guy like that whose wife was in his bed and she was dead, and he still had her in there, would comb her hair and shit. I think, or they had like ants and roaches and shit all over in their house. He lived out in the woods. And this is in
Hmm.
another state, of course, but like here, this guy, I'm like, what is that stench coming out of the crack in that window? Then I see the old man, which is rare. I see him pushing his cart, and it's got like a giant 3-pack jug pack of Clorox in the cart. And on top of that, like a couple of big economy size boxes of Arm& and Hammer baking soda. I'm like, what the fuck is going on over there? So I'm starting to get suspicious. I'm like, this motherfucker is like flushing his wife down the toilet, like Jeffrey Dahmer style. Like, what's all this bleach and shit? Like, what the fuck's he doing? Like, what's going on, you know? And so I haven't seen him for a while, but the smell has kind of subsided. But I've heard in the interim that he's not married. But I'm like, well, yeah, not anymore. But so I don't know. I wonder what's going on next door. But yes, I am surrounded by empty places and one old man that's probably killed his wife, or at least disposed of her body. But you're out in Wyoming, you can do that no matter what. No one's gonna know. Are you still there?
And
Hmm.
since I called you back, I don't know if it's still recording or
Well,
if
I
you want to
started
call me
recording
back.
again.
Oh, you did? Okay.
So yeah.
So no, you were talking about okay, so you were smelling what smelled like a corpse.
Yeah, that was the crack in the window. And then I
Yeah.
saw the little old man, which is very, very rare to see him outside.
Hmm.
So I saw him, he was pushing a cart, and there was like a big, big 3-jug economy pack of Clorox in this cart that he had. And on top of that box, there were like a bunch of big economy sized boxes of Arm& and Hammer baking soda. So I'm like, is this guy like dissolving his wife and flushing her down the toilet like Jeffrey Dahmer style? Or I'm like, what's going on here, you know? And I kind of haven't seen him since, but then I saw him again the other day, and he was like, "Hey," I'm like, "Oh, hey, what's up, man?" And
He's happy.
yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I've heard he's not married, but I'm like, well, yeah, he's not married anymore. He flushed his wife down the toilet, but
I wonder if he did the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing. Consider that a divorce.
well, he
What's that
shot
from?
Sharon Stone when he said that.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
loved that part in the movie because she was such a bitch. I'm like, fuck her. She's not hot. The other chick's way better.
Mm-hmm.
So I got some interesting stuff I think we need to talk about
Sure.
before we get to all the music and stuff. So get this: at the restaurant last weekend, this guy comes in. this Latino dude and his girlfriend. He's wearing a Brujeria shirt, or Brujeria, if you like. He's wearing the shirt, and it says Matando Gueros, the cover, which is their first full-length album they did on Roadrunner Records, RC. Are you with me? Hello? Hello? Oh, for fuck's sake.
As far as I can tell, let me just try one more thing here. I'm just gonna kind of jiggle cables here and just see if there's like some kind of.
Oh, the Jiggler has returned. Hide your USB ports, everybody.
Zig Jiggler, yeah.
I just posted the latest show, number 21, where I told you were the Jiggler because you fuck with people's USB cords.
Dude, you know what? You'd be proud of me.
Batman under the guise of the Jiggler.
I actually listened to a couple of shows last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What did you think?
I don't know. Like, I don't like myself that much, so it's like, all right, well, whatever. I'm talking.
Why?
Oh, it's fine.
You're the funny guy on the show. I'm the shit talker that's going to get us sued or beat up.
Is that well? That was going to be my next point. Is that the reason you have comments turned off?
I don't know. I just most of the time YouTube comments are just dumb anyways. I just figured, why do you want me to turn them on?
Well, it helps the algorithm. So the more people engage with it, it brings it just brings it up more, like it helps the algorithm. So it means that we're seeing more. So it's all about engagement. So likes and then comments.
Well, I mean, I haven't insulted anybody that bad. I mean, I've talked a lot about Burn Kiss a lot, but I mean, that's because they're my favorite band. But I mean, it's not like I said I fucking hate them or anything like that. But
well, and if we get negative, what is it? All press is good press.
So they say. That was in the 70s. Gene Simmons said that, but I don't know about today. Today, not so much that's the case, but.
Oh, well, anyway. I was sending you my Venmo thing. Or were you just joking about that?
Well, we'll see, won't we? I'm just going to let you get tortured until about the last minute of the last day of the week. And then, oh, here you go.
Oh, and then it'll be too late.
You had your last noodle of ramen slither up into your mouth hole.
I'll basically, it'll happen right as I take the last breath from the nitrogen-filled helium or whatever garbage bag tied around my neck. Anyway.
Yeah. So anyways, I was saying before you disappeared last time is I was at the restaurant a week ago or so. This Latino kid comes in with his girlfriend. He's got a Brujeria shirt on, or Brujeria, if you like. And it's Matando Gueros, which is the album cover of their first album that they did on
Severed Head. Yeah.
So by now, everybody knows that band's had like everybody in it, like people from Napalm Death, Faith No More, Fear Factory, like all kinds of people have been in that band, At the Gates. So anyways, I start talking to him like, hey, and he's ordering. I'm like, is your name Juan Brujo? Which is, of course, the singer of Brujeria, the imaginary name of the singer, the criminal. He looks at me like, no, my name's Miguel. I'm like, Juan Brujo, like Brujeria. And I'm pointing to his shirt, motioning to my shirt, like I'm pointing to him. And I'm like, yeah, they were here a little while ago with Napalm Death, like the end of last year. It was a really cool show. I was surprised. And he's just looking at me like, what the fuck?
He had no idea what you were talking about.
He had no fucking clue what I was talking about. And the girl's just kind of giggling like, oh, this nice guy's talking to us. And like the guy is just looking at me like he does not know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm like, do you know what I'm talking about? Like the band you have on your shirt. They were here. It was a really great show. They're coming again in November of this year, which they are at the same place, Metro. And he's just looking at me like he does not have a fucking clue what I'm talking about. So I'm like, okay. And then I just walked away. And then Spencer, my noise drone kid that works there, is like laughing because he totally gets the guy does not have a fucking one shred of like realization of what I'm talking about. And we were talking about that, and even one of the girls, like a teenage girl that works up there, she was up on next to us, like expediting food. And after
Mhm.
that guy walked away, they all looked at me and go, "God, I hate when people wear shirts and bands and they don't know what the fuck." I'm like, "Yeah, what was that?" I'm
Yeah,
like, "Why
that's
would you even wear that shirt with a severed head on it and everything? It says Matando Gueros, kill the white guys, the white bastards, or whatever." And
well,
I'm like, "Why would you wear that if you don't even have a clue about that band, you know?" And
he probably stands behind the message.
well, he didn't even
That's
get
kind of
like
scary.
that it was music. He had no inkling whatsoever. Like he didn't even say, "Oh, I haven't heard them," or "I don't know this band." He just
Mhm.
looked like no fucking clue what I was talking about. And he spoke English, perfect English. It's not that he didn't understand me.
Oh,
Plus, I
so
was
he
motioning
he
and
he probably
saying
didn't even.
Brujeria. Huh?
He probably didn't. Do you think he even spoke Spanish?
Well, I didn't speak Spanish to him. I spoke
Well, do you
English.
think he did? Like you said, he had a perfect accent. Do you think he even understood like what a brujeria?
Well, I mean, I'm referring to what's on his shirt. Clearly, he's got to know that's what I'm talking about. And I pointed to
Yeah.
his shirt. So he
Uh,
had to get it, but he acted like I was just like asking him to take his pants off or something. He had like no fucking idea and just looked at me like, "What the fuck are you talking about, motherfucker?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, never mind then. I'm gonna go over
oh,
here." And
was he getting agitated?
no, not at all. He just kind of
Oh,
like walked away and just kind of like they made this face like, "Yeah, okay," and like, "All right, whatever."
thanks.
He spoke
Yeah.
English, so it wasn't like I was just speaking English and he had no clue. Plus, I was motioning to his shirt saying "Brujeria Juan Brujo," so you got to know if you know that band, you have to know the characters and shit. Otherwise, it's like, why? What are you doing? So I don't
Well,
know.
I
What do you
mean
think about that?
that's one of those. Well, so I'm of maybe not even of two minds, maybe one mind. To me, it's like what? Hey, whatever gets the message out, So because there was like kind of like the controversy. I don't even know. Like it's weird to even call these controversies. It's a conversation, a ruckus. When like the Kardashians were, I don't know, one of the Kardashians was wearing like a Slayer shirt,
Yeah, I've seen
you
that.
know.
Fuck that.
And
Fuck
well,
that bitch.
the way I see it is this, like, well, and it goes back to like that whole thing is like, ah, you want the scene to thrive, and and
Not necessarily.
but not necessarily exactly that's what I mean. But you also want it to stay underground, you know. So it's that I'm a little more of the mindset of like, hey, you know what? If someone, maybe that kid doesn't know who the hell Brujeria is, and he's just, he bought it at like he saw it like a Hot Topic or whatever, and thought it was a cool looking shirt, like badass,
See,
like
this
a
is a little
severed head.
different though, because he's a
But
Latino kid with a Latino girlfriend wearing a Brujeria shirt. And I guess I
right,
see your point.
but he saw the
It means
Spanish on
witchcraft.
there,
That's what the word
yeah,
means is witchcraft.
yeah, and he just thought it was
Brujeria.
some evil, scary shit,
But you got to
that he could
know it's a
wear.
metal band, and you got to like the message. Matan de Gueros means kill the white bastards or kill the white mother
Right,
or the white man or something to that effect. And it has a
sure,
severed head on the front. I mean, come on.
yeah,
You wouldn't just
but
randomly pick a shirt like that to wear, would you? But I wouldn't wear a shirt like
yeah,
that to go out to dinner either. But he did, so I'm like, okay.
but you would, yeah, I mean, you're young, you wanna shake shit up, but
But yeah, if you're gonna wear
but
that,
maybe
go out to
someone
dinner. You
else.
got to know what the fuck you're getting into. But he had no clue. He looked like I had like a pigeon sitting on my head. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, idiot? I'm like,
Well,
your shirt.
well, here's the thing, like, maybe so maybe he'll never know who the hell. Maybe he won't even ever look into it, but
Maybe
maybe
he will now
someone,
after I made a big deal of it.
maybe yeah, one maybe he will now, or maybe someone else sees that shirt and goes, "What the fuck?" and goes and checks it out and like, "Wow, this is cool," you know. So maybe just by him, and even with the Kardashians, maybe Kim Kardashian walks out like in an Exodus shirt or whatever, and some kid, sees it and like, what the hell's that? Googles it, listens to, you know, Toxic Waltz, and goes, oh, this is way better than Taylor Swift, right?
I find that to be highly unlikely because most of the time, if you're in the metal, you're gravitating towards it most of your life anyway, and you just know. But I
Yeah,
see your
but
point. Like that's always great to get somebody out of that bullshit and in the metal. So Um,
But maybe you didn't even, some of these people probably aren't aware of a lot of these bands even exist, so they don't even get a chance to gravitate towards it. They're just wandering, they're lost, and then by some weird coincidence, they see a celebrity wearing like a metal T-shirt.
So this is
just
the
for
funny thing
fun.
about shirts is, like I said, like on numerous shows in the past we've done, is when I would look at bands, and this is a lost art today too, with kids and the internet and like fucking Spotify, is
Mhm.
if you go to a record store and you pick up a record, you look at the back, you don't know what the band name is, or you can't read the logo, or you just like think, okay, what's this? But you look at the back, there's a guy with a Beherit t-shirt on. You're like, okay, well, it's a metal band. I know that. I can tell because this guy's got a Beherit shirt. This dude's got a Napalm Death shirt. So I know I'm
Mhm.
going to like it. Or they thank in their thanks list, like Holocausto
Oh yeah.
from Beherit, or like Barney from Napalm Death, or Jeff from Carcass. Oh, okay, cool.
Oh
Like
yeah.
this is going to be something I'm going to like. People don't do that anymore. And or when you see a guy,
Well,
here's another one for you. Check this out. The other day, it was probably not too long after that Brujeria incident, I went to Harmon's grocery
mhm.
store. The one in God, what the fuck is that area called? Like Mill Creek? Like
Um,
there's a little teeny tiny Harmon's like up in the middle of this neighborhood in Mill Creek. It's kind of like a well-to-do area.
mhm.
So it's like 15th and 15th in that area.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So like Sugar House kind of. But I
Mhm.
went in there because I was in the area and I had a Warmaster shirt on. Warmaster is like a Danish death metal band that's on Slaughterhouse Records, and they're kind of
Yeah,
like Bolt Thrower. They're heavy, brutal death metal. They sing about combat.
yeah. I think you
Um,
you sent me one of their splits, or is it a
yeah,
split or was it just a 7-inch?
there's a split. I got a split 7 inch with that, and we did a full length album too. And the split
Yeah.
seven was with Humiliation, who are also combat death metal from Malaysia. They're also really good. They're still around.
Let's see.
So I had a Warmaster shirt on. It's just the logo. That's it. Just lettering that says Warmaster. It's not like a drippy logo. It's just like kind of German kind of letters almost.
Mhm.
But this kid in Harmon's, this young kid sees me. He works there. He's like, "Oh, what's that band? That Warmaster? Is that what that says?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Mhm.
And I'm like, he's like, "Warmaster, are they good?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, they're brutal. They're like Bolt Thrower, like heavy, brutal death metal. They sing about combat warfare exclusively. They're on my label." And I told him about the label. And this kid has not heard of anything. He's heard of nothing. Like he knows metal,
Mhm.
but he was talking about Storm Master or Storm Bringer or
Stormbringers?
some band, Storm something
Yeah,
or other.
there's a
Storm.
Stormbringer, and I
Maybe it
think
was
they are.
that.
They're kind of that. I always thought they might have been like a more power metal.
It was like I got the impression maybe that's what he meant, but it was like he said it was symphonic black metal, and he was really talking about black metal. And I said, "Yeah, I got some black metal bands. Have you heard of Winterlore?" And he didn't know Winterlore. I'm like, "Well, younger kids all know Winterlore here in town because that's who kind of was
Yeah, they're
running."
like there are black metal kind of, like if we had our, flagship black metal band for Utah, it would be Winterlore, right?
Hard to say. Like I think Winterlore. Well, you have different kinds of black metal because Ibex Throne was
Ibex Throne, yeah.
arguably the first real black metal band like that style and to do all the crazy shit. Like Anthony, the singer, used to cut himself, and
Hmm.
they actually had like a suicide involved in their band at one time, which that was kind of a tragedy. Like, and then. But that was them. They did more of like the brutal war metal, like black metal kind of stuff. And then Winterlore was
It was
kind of
like
a generation
symphonic
later.
or
They did more of like this European style, like 90s style, not quite symphonic, but just more of like a
melodic,
European.
more, yeah,
American
cleaner.
black metal tends to be more like brutal, like just brutal, like kind of war metalish, and just very rarely do you hear most American bands like Winterlore sound like that because that's just the American style. I don't know. It kind of comes from thrash and death metal,
Thrash
but
and
I'd say
Florida death metal, yeah.
Ibex Throne was probably the first band that came out, and they had a bunch of offshoot bands like Terra Noir and a couple of different bands, and then Winterlore, of course, who were kind of
Yeah.
really influenced by them, but they had their own sound. But if you really want to get technical, you could say that Slaughter Christ and Baphomet were the originators of that when they did their thrash back in the 80s, which I'm in the process of getting ready to re-release Slaughter Christ pretty soon and Insane Aside, as well as maybe redo Baphomet again because it's sold out. But anyway, this kid at Harmon's was just like he told me about that band. I said, no, I don't know them. I don't know symphonic black metal as much, but I know like really underground like European stuff. And so I said, just check out my website and just check it out. You'll like some stuff, and whatever. I'll probably see you somewhere around, and that was it. But it was like another young kid. This guy like also caught wind of my shirt. It had the reverse effect of the other guy with the Brujeria shirt. At least he was talking to me and asking questions, and like, oh, cool. And he didn't seem like a clueless fucking stick in the mud, like, oh, what? And
Oh yeah, dude. Like,
so it's just interesting about that. And then when you see people wearing, like, say, a Taylor Swift shirt,
uh-huh.
Who really goes up and goes, oh my God, Taylor Swift,
What's
do you
she
like
like?
her? Like,
Yeah.
no one fucking cares about that. Cardi B, like, fuck off, get out of here.
What
And I see
other
that shit in the restaurant
what
too.
other bands like Taylor Swift should I go check out? You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
that
Like,
might happen, but I highly doubt it. Like,
well, dude, no one's ever like, hey man, if you like Taylor Swift, you need to check out
Lee Aaron.
the Aaron. No, we should start doing that. Like, that should be like that would be like a fun like how would we do that? Maybe like a T-shirt that just says, "Hey, if you like Taylor Swift, check out Doro Pesh," or you know, if you like Cardi B, check out what
Arch
Skunk and
Enemy.
Nancy or Arch Enemy, yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
speaking of Cardi B, now I sent you this little blurb. I took a screenshot of Eddit Trunk's Twitter, or whatever the fuck they call it now. X. That's so fucking stupid. It's Twitter.
Yeah, whatever.
But did you read that? Did you read Eddit Trunk was just going off about how she like attacked that fan and like whacked him with a microphone or something, and then he's just pissed off in general just because she's not even really singing, I guess, which maybe is why the fan threw something at her. I'm not sure really what really went down, but Eddie
You
Trunk
said
was
that
like,
to me?
these guys aren't singing their own shit. They're not playing their own music, and people are like just giving them like
Oh, there it
accolades
is.
all the time. And like, what do you think?
Cardi B reportedly under investigation for battery after throwing a
And
microphone.
he's thinking music gonna die soon. He thinks music is like on its way to a grave if we don't stop supporting shit like this. I agree. What do you think?
Hmm. Well, I mean, once again, it's like here I go with I'm of two mindsets. I'm okay with like a little bit
You got to get
of,
you an exorcist to get that second mind out of you.
dude, I watched The Pope's Exorcist the other day.
Oh
Or
fuck.
I tried to. I fell asleep. It kind of sucked. But anyway,
Eh.
there's your movie review. Russell Crowe should be ashamed.
I watched The
No, so
Warriors a bunch of times. It's one of my summer favorite movies. Do you like The
oh, The
Warriors?
War? Dude, it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Fuck
I did
yeah, that's
not
one of
know
my
that,
top
dude.
three movies. That's like probably my number three favorite movie.
Yeah,
That movie fucking rules.
easily one of my
That's
top
actually something else I
top
wanted
10.
to talk to you about was the music and the
Warriors?
Warriors. But first, before we get
Okay.
into that, finish your
Let's
Cardi
let's
B
finish.
thought.
Well, so okay, so there is that like I'm not into like lip syncing, you know, like if your lead singer has to lip sync, then I think it's time to call it a day.
Well, we talked about this because that's another Eddie Trunk thing where he gets like a rift with
Because
Kiss so much is because he's
Paul
just bagging
Stanley
on Paul
was.
Stanley. He's
But
like,
here's
look,
the
I
thing.
don't hate Paul Stanley, but if you can't sing, what the fuck are you playing live for? You're not really playing live, and that's his point. But they're taking exception to it, and this is another thing is like this leads you back to the guy with the Brujeria shirt. Is like, do people really care these days? Like younger kids, as long as they go get to see a spectacle, do they really give a fuck if they're not singing?
Well, I don't
If
know
they don't have
because
a real album in their hands, they don't give a fuck. It's just on their phone. So maybe they don't care about that either. What do you think?
well, I think there's definitely that going on. I mean, music is really throwaway a lot for a lot of people. But I'm kind of going back to like these classic artists, like your, Paul Stanley, for example. I don't even think he's using like he's necessarily lip syncing, but he's having help. Like
Yeah, he
there's
has
probably
backing
another
tracks.
track.
He's got
Hmm.
backing tracks, and I think Gene is like taking over or like helping him, like fluffing it up, or like
Hmm.
actually doing some of his songs.
And
Is
I'm
what I
cool with
heard.
that. Like I think that's cool. Like I'm totally okay with that as long as there's still
Well, the thing
an
is, though, is you
actual
lose that
performance.
dynamic. You lose that dynamic of Kiss
Hmm.
because what if Gene singing "Do You Love Me"? That's totally a different fucking thing, you know. You actually said yourself on the last show I posted that Gene Simmons has a cool rock and roll
Oh,
swinging
I
dick
love his
voice,
voice.
quote unquote.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's true, but Paul Stanley's got that emotional, like love, like power ballad voice, and if Gene's singing "Do You Love Me" or "Love Gun," like what the fuck, it's
I don't
totally
know,
different.
because Paul Stanley actually, when he gets swaggery and kind of angry like Gene Simmons, I love what Paul Stanley does. Like "Get All You Can Take," you know. What's another song?
Keep Me Coming.
"Keep Me Coming." Yeah, that's the one off Creatures of the Night, right?
Yeah, and then there's also
Yeah,
the grunge
that
album,
song's
which nobody
badass.
really likes, but there's some hard stuff on there that Paul does. It's really
Carnival of
impressive.
Souls.
Yeah, that's really a good album. Like, don't mock it all you want because it's grunge, but it's really a fucking
You
good
know
album.
what? I haven't actually heard that album, but
It's a
I
fucking good
did
album. You should.
actually. I listened to Revenge actually fairly recently,
That's pretty good too.
a couple of months ago. Like when I think I threw it on and walked around Lander. It was like one of the first records I listened to, just walking around
Like
this
the
new
song
town.
"Unholy," and here's a funny story too: is Vinnie Vincent helped them write "Unholy" and I think "Heart of Chrome," two songs on that record.
Yeah,
And look at how brutal and dark "Unholy" is. Like Vinnie fucking Vincent, man. There we go again.
dude.
But anyways, before we get off on a Kiss tangent, you were
Yeah,
like
yeah.
getting back to Cardi B. Like, what do you think? Like, do you think she's just a fucking sham and people should quit
Oh,
supporting that?
she's 100% a sham. I mean, it's up
Like
to
all of those people. Who's the other one? Like, does Beyonce do that shit?
dude. They probably, well, and here's
I
the
don't
thing,
know the
like
difference between Beyonce and Rihanna. I don't know who the fuck these people are. I don't know what they sing. I have
Beyonce
no fucking idea.
Beyonce has like an incredible voice. Believe it or not, like dude, I've probably mentioned this before on.
Yeah, yeah, you said it before. I think last episode I
uh
posted, we kind of went off. I sparred with
Yeah,
you a little
she
bit.
did this cover of an old Rose Royce song called "Wishing on a Star" that's just haunting, and love it. And Rihanna,
But what does
you
Cardi
know,
B do? What is she? Is she rap or what is she even? I don't even know.
she's the one that sings that "Wet Ass Pussy" song.
The what?
WAP, WAP is
Wet ass
literally
pussy? What the fuck? She's
that's yeah, that's the song I think.
and it's
At least
just like
that's
I
the
think
lyrics.
someone put that on once at work for shits and giggles. You think people
No,
like playing it just as a joke? Well, I guess
well,
what?
it's a
That's like
legit song.
is it coming from like a hip hop vein or what kind of music is it?
It's hip hop, yeah, and it is. It's Cardi B, "Wet Ass Pussy."
Well, even so, like hip hop, that's even more conducive to actually doing it live. Like, why would you fucking fake that? That makes no sense.
Well,
Like hip hop is
because
all about what you're saying and you're rapping it. That's why it's called rap. Like, why would you fucking fake that? That's pretty bad. So,
well, the
well,
problem is so when you're talking about like pop stuff, like the pop superstars, like there's so much going on stage. Like it's a theatrical thing, right? So there's dancers, it's all choreographed, blah blah
yeah, they're
blah.
not really so much
So
paying attention to the singer.
it yeah, so the music is almost like, just another little piece of that puzzle. So it doesn't have to be um live, you know what I mean? It's the entire spectacle. So I don't know.
Well, I
I'm
get
still
that. You could argue that in Kiss's case on their behalf too, but at the same time, if you're playing live and you're not really singing, what the fuck are you doing there? But I like I said, like maybe today's kids don't give a shit because they also don't care to buy albums and like have like actual
Mhm.
genuine articles. It's just a file on their phone. So is
Yeah.
this it? Is music dead? Like live music?
Well, I mean, I think in a sense that pop, like, music, like as like, good
I mean,
pop
even
music is
Michael
dead,
Jackson
right?
had a live band and like sung his own
Right.
songs and shit. Like he's like the king of pop, so they said. I mean,
That's what I mean. Yeah. So and then when you look at like a Taylor Swift song, there's like 16 writers now, and maybe occasionally she'll write her own stuff, but whatever. So I mean, I would say, but when has like that kind of pop music ever been relevant to someone like us?
well, it's not.
Who's
It's just
who's into
always.
underground metal, but
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 the point is like you have pop music, but even back in the '80s when I hated pop
Mhm.
music, even back then, that stuff stands the test of time today. Like Madonna and stuff. I mean, she fucking sang her own shit. She had a band playing.
Right,
I mean, why can't
right.
this fucking bitch do it?
And I know you're a fan of like Devo, right?
Of
Um,
who?
Devo.
Oh, Devo fucking rules. I love Devo. They're
Yeah.
like my third favorite band.
And it's funny because I was listening to Arcturus today,
Oh yeah.
and you know, who do you think they sound like? Because I'll tell you exactly who I think they sound like.
Well, I don't know the same spectrum you do, but to me, when I heard Arcturus, I immediately thought of there's a proggy band. It's like a little more dark, or like a little less pretty. But I thought of, but I can't remember it now. But also there is an element of Dream Theater there to me.
Mm.
But what are you
'Cause I
going for something older?
Depeche Mode.
Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
I would not have ever thought that at all. Why do you say that? So
Just
Arcturus is
vocally,
people from Ulver, Mayhem, and Emperor, and you're telling me they sound like Depeche Mode to you?
there's a Depeche Mode vibe too,
I don't know Depeche
especially
Mode
like,
very well either, other than the hits.
well,
So
Personal Jesus, isn't that Depeche Mode?
I know it's their song. I couldn't tell you what that song sounds like. I know it's one of their hits, but
Dun, dun, dun,
I
dun,
know
dun,
Reach
dun,
Out and Touch
per-
Me, and then People Are People,
yeah.
of course, and Just Can't Get Enough.
People up.
And
I thought that
then
was Tears for Fears.
it,
No,
it
that's
comes
Depeche
across
Mode.
that way, but it's Depeche Mode's biggest hit, really. And then It's a
Mm.
Lie, It's a Lie, It's a Lie. That's it. That's all I know. But anyways, Arcturus, where do you make that connection?
Vocally,
Vocals?
and then like a lot of the keyboard stuff. It kind of has like that
Well, they are Norwegian. They do have other influences.
industrial, like almost, uh, like how Depeche Mode is. I mean, they're not industrial, right? But they're kind of part of that, like.
Well, they have like an electronic foundation of their music too,
Hmm.
alongside the rock format, which is guitars,
Yeah,
bass, and drums. But they have an electronic format in there as
and
well.
I hear that with Arcturus, especially as they kind of through their later stuff.
Like
Because
there's a
their
band
first,
called Nitzer Ebb. Do you know Nitzer Ebb? They used to be
oh
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
new wave band like that, but they totally went full on industrial. But you could hear it like
Hmm.
early on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So you think they did what in Arcturus? They took that and
Yeah, and then kind of and added a little bit. There's some proggy in there, stuff like that. But believe it or not, to me it sounds more like kind of almost like symphonic black metal meets Depeche Mode. I mean, it's an interesting mix for sure.
so what
And I
did you
watched some of
think?
their
Did you like
live.
it?
Yeah, yeah. It's probably not something I jump into all the time, but I even watched some like live videos.
It's a
And
hard
they
thing
have
to get
this.
into. You got to really commit yourself to be in the mood.
Hmm.
But I
Yeah.
think the last song is probably the best one, or one of the last ones, Radical Cut, which is a really hard
Hmm.
sounding song with Izan of Emperor on vocals. And there's a ripping keyboard solo in there. It's very 70s proggy, like King Crimson. I'm like, fuck yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that one up because like I wasn't sure which album to listen to, so I that is the one. I think I even own that album, The Sham Mirrors.
Sham Mirrors, and that was actually, ironically, once again, that was released on the N Records, which used to be at that time here in Salt
I
Lake
think
City.
I might have even bought that from Abyss
Yeah, you
because I
probably
used to
did.
have that album.
I'm pretty sure we made you listen to it because we, of course,
Mhm.
called you Prog Dude back then, and we let you hear it,
Yeah,
and you may have bought it. I don't remember if you,
yeah.
you did.
You made me get Arcturus and Nocturnus AD, or not Nocturnus AD, just Nocturnus. They're AD now because I don't know why.
Did they have one of those splits too? I was wondering about that.
Yeah,
It seems like there's all the guitarists are gone, but it's Mike Browning in one band, and then there's I don't know if the other one is still around, but it's funny you brought that up because I've been seeing them a lot, and I kind of wanted to like maybe like go off on that a little bit, but I was never I
I never
love
got
keyboards and metal, but I was not into Arcturus, or not Arcturus, but I was not into Nocturnus when I first
Nocturnus.
heard them because I thought it was kind of just kind of
You got to
the
admit though,
keyboards
it's
didn't
kind
really
of
flow with
ballsy.
it. What?
It was sort of ballsy of them to be like one of the first death metal bands
Well,
to
everybody
really
says
just
that, but there are tons of bands that
feature.
had keyboards all the time, like Bathory. Prime example right there.
Well,
That's
we're
what
talking
made
about death
Bathory
metal,
so cool.
like American death metal.
Well, I mean, it's all metal, but I mean, at the same time, like as far as that, yeah, it was an unusual mix. But
Hmm.
to me, I didn't think the keyboard really, like, other than like an intro to a song, you didn't hear him do too much that really lent itself over to it until the third album, which most of the band is gone. Like Mike Browning is gone. There's a different vocalist. There's a new bass player, I think, maybe a new drummer or something. But it's a really good album. The third album is called Ethereal Tomb, and the keyboards on there really are just in the background with the music, and they just really mesh really well. And it's a lot less of the guitar stuff too. There's like not as many solos and arpeggios and all that. And I
Oh
think they
yeah,
hit the nail on
that
the
gets
head there.
tiring after a while.
What's that?
That gets tiring after a while. Like,
See, I didn't
like,
ever like that because they were always just like just fretboard, just gymnastics all the time, just everything, every song. I'm like, man, and I think it distracted from the keyboards, but the keyboards weren't really prevalent like
I
that
think
much in their music until the third record, and you know the third one was really fucking good. If you haven't heard that, look that one up, Ethereal Tomb.
Ethereal Tomb.
Yeah, the Ethereal Tomb, and the vocals are like really deathy, like that, instead of like the Morbid Angel style vocals. So it's a really good album. Like the atmosphere of it is great. I love that record. I got that for like I got like a single, or not a single, but like a promo CD of that at the Heavy Metal Shop years ago, and I could not stop listening to it. I still love that record. Really good album. In fact, I have a Pandora station based on Nocturnus. It plays a lot of good like death metal and grindcore, a good mix. But anyway, yeah, that's a good one. But I was gonna say, we brought up movies, and I brought up The Warriors.
Oh, dude, it's such a good show.
What do you
Holds
think
up
about?
today.
Oh, the movie rules. The movie, there's no fucking comparison. That movie's fucking awesome. Like the fight scenes, like everything, just all of that shit. Those guys to this day, they still get together like every year, and they wear their vest, their colors, and they take it pretty seriously. It's like the remaining actors, like a few of them have died now, but
yeah,
the soundtrack.
What was his name? Leonardo. Wait, what do they call him?
Rembrandt.
Rembrandt. Yeah.
Yeah, Rembrandt. Marcelino Sanchez. He died. I think. I can't remember. I don't think any of the actual warriors proper are dead. I think that most of them are still alive. But
yeah, and
James Remar, Ajax. He's in a lot of movies. He was in Blade 3. He played a cop. Like, I'll shove that bat up your ass and turn you into a popsicle. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, baseball Furies, man, they're bad.
The baseball Furies reminded me of Alice Cooper and Kiss, you know, and like it was just so 70s, but it was cool, you know. It was like one
gritty,
gunshot.
like really gritty still.
Yeah, like one
just
bullet.
Has a gritty. Yeah.
One bullet started all of that trouble, and then they had to fight their whole way back. There's none of this bullshit with like the gun sideways and like blowing people away left and right. It's just like you had to fight. That's why it was so cool. It's just like the bathroom fight at the end before they get back to Coney Island.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that was
the
an
dudes
awesome
on the roller
fucking
skate.
Fight.
Yeah, that was, and it holds up. Like, yeah, I've seen that movie tons of times.
Well, it's very 70s, but it does hold up. And like at the end when they're on the beach and then Riff gets there, you're like, oh fuck, man. No, like 30 angry black dudes, like fuck no. Holy shit. They all have hockey sticks, and I'm like, fuck, I'd be shitting myself right now. And then they're like, you Warriors are good. I'm like, oh fuck, thank you. Like, okay, bye. See ya. Have fun.
Like, the best.
The rest is ours.
Get
like,
dead.
You'll get no argument. Fuck yeah.
I'm having a good time.
Now that guy, that little guy from the road,
he's
David Patrick Kelly. He reminds me of Geddy Lee.
Oh yeah,
he looks like Geddy Lee in there. I'm like, Geddy Lee. And then there's another dude that and then when you watch the riffs, the beginning of the movie, when the guy is like, who are the Warriors? There must be some word. Like if you look at when he looks at the guys and they're just staring straight ahead, you know the scene I'm talking about? Like right after Cyrus is shot, there's a black guy in there, looks just like Paul Stanley. Do you know who I'm talking about? You gotta watch it again. There's a dude in there that looks like Paul Stanley, like to the T, but black and short hair. Dude. I'm telling you, watch it again. You'll know him when you see him. He's got like the eyebrow arching up, like the eyes. He's got the square jaw, the long face. It's all quiet because everybody's quiet. They're like, we don't know who the Warriors are. No one's saying anything, and they show this guy, and I expect him to go, whoa.
Here we go. I'm pulling up the scene right now on my phone.
Oh, dude, it is me and Mike Kimball. We used to watch that movie like religiously every year, and every time that scene
he's walking in front of him. He's like,
we both be like, whoa, Cyrus, yeah, the riffs.
Here we go.
This black dude with a long space, square jaw. He is Paul Stanley incarnate, but black, short hair. I'm telling you, you can't miss it. You'll know it when you see it.
Who are the Warriors?
See
Hold
him?
on. Not yet. It's not that guy. Oh, there he is.
Yep. You see?
With the eyebrow up. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That dude,
Black
does
Paul
that not look
Stanley.
like Paul fucking Stanley?
He was his eyebrow raised.
It's
the
uncanny.
same
It's
eyebrow.
unfucking canny. That literally, you think it's Paul. I'm like, and Paul, when he talks on stage, you sometimes wonder if he's black under the makeup because you're like, fuck, man. Well, he's from New York,
Yeah.
so you know, but
He's got that, yeah, New York. There he is, yeah, wearing the green karate outfit.
Yeah, he's one of the badasses. He's got the
what a
different
good
uniform.
show. That's such a good show, man.
Yeah, the Warriors is awesome.
Dude, and well, yeah, and that's, you know, the ending song is like one of my favorite, like, if you want to talk about
get
like
this,
classic
like
rock
there's
songs.
some of
That
that
Joe
old
Walsh
rock
song?
on there. Oh, that was one I was going to tell you, like the song "In the City" by Joe
I
Walsh.
love that song.
Okay, well, get this. It shows up on the Eagles album. It's the last song on side 2 of The Long Run, which is one of their big 70s albums. But that's not an Eagles song. They wrote that song. No. He wrote that with the director of that movie for that movie. But it's on an Eagles album.
Yeah, and it's such a good song. Like,
I guess they just
one of my
decided,
favorite
well,
Eagles
let's throw
songs.
it on there. Like, what the fuck, or what happened there? Do you know?
Yeah, dude, and the Lizzies. Oh man, we're gonna get chipped.
Chicks are packed.
These chicks are packed.
But
of course, Rembrandt knew. He knew what was up. He knew that was like.
But the In the City was written by Joe Walsh and the director of the movie, but it was on an Eagles album, and it's never been on a Joe Walsh album that I know of. So I wonder what that was all about.
Well, I mean, Joe Walsh was in the Eagles, you know, so it might have just been one of those things like, you know, okay, we're a band, you got a song, all right.
But it doesn't credit it to the Eagles in the movie. It just says Joe Walsh and Saul Urich or whoever the director was. I can't remember his name.
It says written by Joe Walsh, but I think it was performed by the band. Like,
I don't know. It might have been like his own thing, but well, anyway, it's also on the soundtrack. You've got a lot of like really crusty old rock, like where it kind of crossed over like it did in the '60s. There's like a lot of black influenced R&B kind of rock, but there's also there's a song on there like you can totally hear it. Like it's one of the songs the DJ's playing when she's talking in the background. But it's a song that was written by Desmond Child and his old band. Remember his old band? What was the name of that again?
Dude, I don't know. I'd have to pull it up because I know there's like kind of a
here, let me see. I got it here. I got a playlist.
It's like I put the Warriors song almost.
Soundtrack on my my phone so I could listen to it. But let me see here. I've got. Well, where the fuck did it go?
Theme from the Warriors, Barry Dvorak. Let's see. Oh, here it is.
Yeah, Barry Dvorak. That's the.
And Polar Ship Productions. The Havana echoes in my mind. Is it Mandrill? No, Mandrill's a funk band. Joe Walsh. There it is. The Last of an Ancient Breed.
Yeah, Last of an Ancient Breed. It was Desmond Child, but his band at that time in the '70s. I can't remember the name of it. Yeah.
Yeah, what a great song. I don't want to get a strike on there.
What was the name of their band? Yeah. It was like Free or something like that, but it wasn't Free. It was like a word like that, though. Let me see if I can find that.
You're thinking of Jafria.
No. Actually, that's funny, too. We got to talk about that. Ironically, you mentioned Jafria. Hold on. Desmond Child. Come on. Just tell me the fucking name of his band.
Desmond Child.
I don't know. It's going out of its way to not tell me the name of the band.
I'll find it. I'm good at this stuff. Desmond Child. Okay. Here we are.
What the fuck is it?
Hold on. Discography. Desmond Child and Rouge. Owners
Rouge.
of the Night.
Rouge. That's it. Yeah, Rouge. Rouge is like a red makeup you put on your face.
Yeah, yeah. Dude, man,
Yeah,
you look
you can
down, it's just
hear
like
like
his
all that.
songs.
That stuff you hear there with Desmond Child is like you can hear that in the Kiss albums where he's done songs with them. You can totally hear it.
Hmm.
But it's
Dang.
funny because you brought up Jafria, because I remember when they were like a early '80s, like they were trying to be a heavy metal band. But that Greg Jafria used to be an Angel. Remember them?
Oh yeah. And now he's like he's a moved to Vegas, and I think he made like some kind of like formed some kind of business making sound effects for slot machines, and is like a billionaire.
Wow, really?
So,
He played the
oh yeah.
keyboard in Angel. That he was the
Yeah.
keyboardist, right?
Yeah, and
Well, it's funny
keyboardist of
because
Jafria and
Angel,
House of Lords, I think, even too.
like I told you that you bought me that David Vincent book. I haven't read it yet because I'm going to read that next. But I wanted to read this Casablanca book I got. I got a book called "And Party Every Day," as
Yeah.
in I want to rock and roll all night and party every day. And it's a book about Casablanca Records. It's about the label and like how they did all these crazy drugs and how they started, just like how they were known for like crazy parties and drugs, Studio 54, all of that with Donna Summer, the Village People, disco. But that's Kiss's label from the 70s. And they also had Angel on their label. And they had this giant, like, just wad of money they spent on Angel trying to put him over like they did Kiss. Like they had this voice that would come out and announce each band member, and they'd step out of a box that was lowered to the stage, and they'd all go up into a box at the end of the show, and it would explode into confetti. Like they had a magic trick. And I guess Greg Jafria was kind of like the spokesman of the band, and like they just kind of weren't making it. They never made it. They, like Kiss was just too big, and like Angel just kind of went unnoticed basically. And they were notable because they had a logo where you could look at the logo upside down or right side up, and it was this exact same logo.
Angel?
Yeah, and apparently some 15-year-old kid designed that logo and gave it to one of the stagehands at a concert, and they paid the kid $500. And like, I guess they blew it off, but then Neil Bogart, who runs Casablanca, saw it and was like, "Holy shit, that's awesome!" They found the kid, paid him $500, put his name in the credits, and that
That's
was their
amazing.
logo.
I'm
It's a
looking at
pretty
it right
good
now.
book. It's
Like I've
pretty
never noticed
crazy.
that.
Like,
It's a really cool logo.
yeah,
Super
it's the
cool
book is
logo.
pretty interesting. Like it talks a lot about disco, and I find that interesting because I like some disco music. I grew up in the '70s, so I know Donna
Yeah.
Summer. My sister used to listen to all that stuff. But it's interesting like what went down, the debauchery. Like disco people, fuck, they make metal musicians look like pussies compared to the
Oh,
shit they
disco
do.
was nuts, dude.
Oh, it was
Yeah, I
crazy.
mean,
That label, they had cocaine everywhere. It's just like they're
mhm.
smoking joints all the time, like at all times. It was just insane. Everybody was having sex with everybody. It was crazy.
Dude, I was listening to. It's funny because I was listening to. I don't know if it was our last episode that you posted. Like your relationship to drugs is so boomer, dude.
Who, me?
Yeah, you were talking about how someone mailed you a marijuana cigarette.
You just
Hey,
can't let
marijuana.
that go, can you?
That made me laugh so hard,
What
dude.
was I supposed to say? It was a cigarette
Hey,
filled with marijuana that someone sent me in the mail. Like,
blunt,
oh,
a
sorry, I
joint.
didn't say joint.
Sent
Sorry.
me some weed.
Well, it was a
It's
cigarette though. It was a rolled up joint in the fucking mail.
you,
I said marijuana cigarette. Why is
you
that so
sounded
bad?
like Officer Findlay or something. Now some people will use a marijuana cigarette and they'll
Now, if
smoke
you get
this
a marijuana
marijuana like a
cigarette in the
cigarette.
mail, you know what to do. Flush it down the toilet.
Yeah, call the police.
So boomer,
Sometimes they
huh?
call it reefer or Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I was going off on a tangent. Like someone had actually sent me that in the mail, but yeah, it was sitting on the counter too at my mom and dad's house all day. If they had known what was in there, I would have been like hung
oh
out to
yeah.
dry.
Yeah, marijuana's not fun anyways. But it shouldn't be illegal, right?
No, it shouldn't. I
Yeah.
don't do drugs, but I don't think like marijuana should be illegal. It's fucking dumb. It's nothing.
I don't
The
think
only
any
reason
of it
why it
should be.
is pharmaceutical companies don't want to lose money to it. It does a lot of good. So fuck
Um,
big pharma.
I agree. I think that might be one place where you and I both agree.
I mean, it's ridiculous to put somebody in jail for like 10 years or 7 years just because they had an ounce of weed. That's fucking absurd. And meanwhile, there's all kinds of fucking nuts that are on the streets, roaming the streets that should be in jail and they're not. It's nothing to
Yeah.
do with drugs. Although
Oh yeah.
heroin's pretty bad. We've got a pretty bad homeless problem here, but
Oh yeah. Well, I mean that you could almost blame, you know, I mean, it gets complicated. You can almost blame the drug war for that too, you know. Who knows? I mean, if you didn't if we were just allowed to grow like opium poppies in our backyard, heroin might not even have existed. We'd just be drinking poppy tea, you know, and hitting the occasional opium den.
so are you gonna tell everybody about what you told me about on the phone last night? Your extraction
I
of
don't,
like what was it?
um,
TMZ? Is that what it is?
I did TMZ.
Now
I did.
TMZ is the illegal stuff, right?
I followed a celebrity around, and now TMZ is the paparazzi show.
What?
You're thinking of I did DMT,
DMT.
dimethyltryptamine.
So is that the illegal shit that you can't get?
Yeah, it's illegal.
Oh, and you
Which
have
is
it. How did that happen? Was it just growing out there in the wild in Wyoming?
so DMT actually occurs naturally in almost every plant.
And I
And
did
our
post an
butt,
episode like 2 episodes ago where you and I were talking about drugs and you went off like
yeah,
for like almost
it's
an hour about just all the
amazing
shit you've
stuff.
done.
Well, I haven't done a lot actually.
Well, you were
Like
talking
maybe.
about like the trips you had and like the weird
Mhm,
shit you saw and you tried
mhm.
something. I can't remember what it was, but I don't know.
Probably
Obviously, because
DMT.
I said TMZ, but DMT, like, so
Hmm.
that is what? That's the chemical in marijuana?
No, THC
Yeah.
is a chemical in marijuana.
What?
THC is the
THC.
chemical.
So what's DMT?
DMT is it's like a really simple molecule, but
And
it's
you
it's something
extracted it from what?
I didn't. Someone
You
did.
told me you took it out of something last night and used the pure form of it or something and put it in something else.
I didn't do it last night.
Well, you told me that last night though.
It was years ago. I did it. After the whole statute of
You were
limitations.
telling me on the phone last night that like you did it. Whatever,
Yeah.
shut the fuck up.
Well, look, I'm trying not to incriminate myself here. Like it's.
Well,
But
everybody knows you're a criminal.
mhm, a smooth criminal. Um, no, it occurs naturally, like in certain plants, and your body makes it naturally. Like it's one of those things. It's another thing. Like to ban it is really weird, you know. Because if you're going to ban DMT, you literally have to ban just about every plant and animal, on the planet because our body makes it. It's something we use, just maybe not in the quantities. That's why it's a psychedelic.
That's kind of
But
interesting because there's the old Doctor Who show from the 70s, or
hmm
one of them from the 70s. There
hmm
was an episode about drug abuse, and it was this thing where this guy was transporting pieces of this planet off the planet into this crystalline form he stored on this machine, and he could turn it on and go into that recording into the jungle, and there were animals living in there, and if you killed one, it would like immediately decompose into a powder, and that powder was the drug that everybody was after in this episode of this show. And that's kind of funny because Doctor Who
that's
always
wild.
has a foresight of doing stuff like that.
Well, I mean, DMT has been like I think it was synthesized in the '60s. It was synthesized by a chemist before they discovered that occurred naturally. Just about everywhere, and we have like receptor areas in our brains that just latch on to the DMT molecule like it's meant to be. That's what's so interesting about it, and that's why I kind of told you it's like, not only does it completely like send you to another universe, you come right out of it just squeaky clean, you know, no haze, no grogginess, no where was I, who was I, you're fully aware through the whole thing. It's just amazing. you know. And it's not something you want to do all the time either. That's what's kind of interesting about it either. Even though it's like really amazing experience, you don't like crave it. Like I would like if someone offered me like DMT right now or a cigarette, I'd take the cigarette because that's what I'm craving right now. You know. So.
Well, it's kind of like music then. Like say Arcturus, you got to really be like in the mindset to want to do it.
Hmm.
So you got to really be able to like digest all of that, just like say in a symphonic
Right.
metal band.
Right. Yeah. So it's like a lot of like the stuff that you and I listen to, like especially
So
you,
some
like.
nights you get home, you don't want to astrally travel and like meet alien beings. You just want to sit down and like
Mhm.
scratch your
Yeah.
ass and watch
You don't want
fucking
to. Yeah.
Three's Company.
You don't listen. Yeah. You don't listen to a band like Arcturus. You don't listen to it passively, right? It's not something that you just put on in the background or whatever.
Yeah, I have
You
a
have to
lot of
like.
music that's like that I got to be proper. And you know
You
me,
got to be
I'm
present.
seasonal with my music too. So if it's not fall, I'm not going to listen to certain bands. So
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, if I'm gonna go like jogging or lift weights, I can throw on some rock and roll um, or if I'm, you know, in any kind of music, I generally have a hard time listening to any kind of music passively. So like, if I'm doing something like DMT, I usually just throw on some like ambient space kind of music because in a weird way, it's because of fear. Like I'm kind of almost afraid of what I might hear.
well, you know, now that you said that, you got me interested because I want to send you a bunch of like dark ambient music that's really good that you might like. That's not gonna like lead you down a fucking abyss or anything. But I'll put some stuff in your Dropbox. It's really good stuff.
Okay. All
But
right. Yeah, I'll
anyways, go
totally
on.
check it
What
out.
else? You were talking about like being in huge cities that were like beyond like anything man could think of right
Yeah.
now.
So I mean, it's weird because it's weird talking about it because I'm such a skeptic of anything like really spiritual and magical and all that. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like, you at like kind of like the lower dosage of this stuff. It's almost like a probably like a classic trip type thing, where it's like, okay, the walls are starting to like change colors or wave around or and all that, or you close your eyes and you start seeing like kind of some kind of kaleidoscopic type patterns, which is almost like a normal, like it's that's like your kind of hippie, you know what I mean, like the hippie, like Grateful Dead, like, oh man, I like seeing the
Yeah.
colors,
See, that's
like.
that's one of the reasons why I didn't like 2001: Space Odyssey so much because it was number one, it was all the human quotient and all of that, but also it had like psychedelics in it.
Hmm.
That's kind of exactly what it was for, if you ask me. I'm like,
Yeah,
I was hoping for more than that, but
yeah, and I'm not really interested in like the hippie kind of the hippy dippy stuff of it.
yeah, I
So,
know.
but there's like a threshold that you go past with DMT where suddenly all that stuff goes away, and you're literally just left with like a serene, completely clear, crystalline, not crazy, not a lot of like flashing or anything like that. Like you're just looking at a landscape, and it's just can't explain it. It feels too real, but at the same time, it's like I know
So
that
now,
it's
are
like.
you telling me that your ectoplasmic form, if you will, or your consciousness was in another like alien land? You were there. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I don't. Okay, so I had to almost like kind of preempt
But
it
before
with.
you answer, I have to tell you that if you're doing lucid dreaming where you're actually in control of the dream and but you think
Mhm,
you're really there, one of the
mhm,
key factors of how you can figure that out is if in your dream you can look down and look at your hand and you recognize your hand.
mhm.
That
Okay,
means that like in terms of magic and magical people, that's what's going on. I got
okay,
to be
so.
honest with you. I've only been able to do that once, barely, like a
Mhm.
nip. And I like, whoa, boy. And I woke up and like, fuck, I ruined it.
So
So what did you see?
so I think I kind of told you like like I didn't have like a concept of a human form. Or I mean, I had a concept of it. I just didn't have my human form.
For
Like I told
you,
you,
you
like
didn't.
yeah. So like uh, I so when I did it, I put like a shirt over my eyes just to make sure it was very dark. And I remember when when I broke through, or and I'm in this like new crazy like kind of futuristic city, with like freaking buildings with windows and walkways and all this stuff. I remember thinking, I remember knowing exactly what was going on. I was like, okay, I took this chemical, right, and it's a hallucination. Like, I mean, even though like it felt totally real, so I was like, are my eyes open or closed? So that was kind of my test, right? Um, so I did kind of like the thought of like, okay, well, open your eyes. And I opened my eyes and the scene didn't change, right? So I was like, okay, well, maybe my eyes were already open. So when I said to open my eyes, they were already open. So I was like, close my eyes. So I did kind of like just the thought of closing your eyes, and nothing changed again. So like whether I was thinking I was opening my eyes or closing my eyes, the scene didn't change. It was like I had no eyelids, but it didn't matter. Like I don't think I had like
See, it
once again
sounds
it
to
was
me like you were probably just dreaming, though. That's kind of what I'm getting out of it.
mm, but it didn't feel like
Were you
because
asleep when this was going on, or were you just
oh
sitting
no,
there?
no. I was sitting there like I was awake, right? These trips only last like 5 minutes. That's what's wild about it. You're in, then you're out, just like that. So I mean, I knew that I was sitting in bed, with some headphones on and pillows propped up, and I was sitting up. But for you know 2 minutes, I was completely somewhere else. Like the air changed. Like the smell of the air changed. The temperature of my environment changed. You know, so like
Now, what do you
like I said,
think?
by every
T-
metric, like it it seemed like I was somewhere else. Now the skeptic in me also realizes like if someone would have walked into the room right there, they would have seen me sitting on the bed with the shirt over my head, been like, all right, whatever. You know, I
no,
didn't,
wait. Why did you put a shirt
wasn't
over your
physically.
head?
I just wanted it dark. Like I just wanted to like
What
have complete
was
darkness over my eyes.
okay? Was this
So
like
it was like
daytime
a
or something? Or?
blindfold. No, like a blindfold. I just didn't want like how people sometimes have those little blindfolds so they can sleep better at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of just for that effect. I just wanted it dark. But I mean, I would say that if from whatever I've read about astral traveling, I would say that that's probably the closest description I would describe it as. But I also don't want to like be that person that will fully just say, "Dude, I astral traveled, man. My soul left my body." Because I don't know, but it felt like it. Fucking really felt like it. That I was somewhere else for a couple of minutes, and it seemed as real as anything I've ever experienced. So closest thing to like real magic I think I've ever experienced.
So I've had dreams before where I haven't done anything or nothing. I just happened to have a dream. I had a dream once that I was on an island
Hmm.
and I knew that there was a guy there who was like a retired military guy, older dude. He was like crazy and he was trying to kill me and he was killing all
Hmm.
these guys I was with on the island. And I remember like leaning down in the sand. It was wet sand. I came up out of the ocean and I leaned down and I looked down. There was a rotten corpse that I was leaning on. I was like, oh shit. And I could smell it. And I smelled rotting flesh like vividly in my dream,
Mm.
like rotten flesh. And I woke up and I was like, what the fuck? That was weird because it was like I smelled it. I knew that was the smell. I knew what I was smelling. And it was so vivid and lifelike in my mind. I could smell it, But of course, I woke up and I was just in my bed. I'm like, that was weird. But I just wonder. That was a very realistic dream. Like
Hmm.
I saw skeletons everywhere. Like there were bodies. Like the dude was like crazy and he was trying to kill me. But I woke up. I've
But I
had
mean, I've
dreams
had
like that
that.
before, where I've smelled like something that was in my dream, whether it was
But
rotten flesh or oil or whatever the
but here's
fuck.
the thing, so what
And I
makes
don't
this
hang around
different?
rotten flesh very often to like just
Right.
kind of know, file it away in my head, what what it smelled like. I mean, you have an idea. Well, I usually smelled dead shit before, but
But this is like one of those situations where like you're wide awake, like this happened middle of the day, you know, and I hopped up in bed and like I actually, like turn on like the little vape, my little vape pen, and just hit it a couple times. I wasn't asleep. That's the thing. Like it definitely wasn't asleep because there was like physical things I was doing because I remember I was gasping, not because I was out of air, but I was just like so amazed. I was going like, "Ah, what, what?" And I could sense myself doing that, like kind of laughing. I was like laughing at just how crazy it was, you know. And I remember coming out of it just laughing, like, "Holy shit!"
laughing. So you were
Yeah,
high as a kite.
no, it wasn't like any kind of like it was like laughing at like seeing just I don't know like because I couldn't believe what I was seeing basically. Like I couldn't believe it was real. Like like the stories were true. Like I couldn't believe that it was like, wow, when people do describe it as like the most real feeling that you've ever felt, I'm like, whoa. So yeah, so I remember just kind of like I come out of it, I'm just like, just because I was just so surprised, like when you see like a great band or something, you start laughing because you're like, holy shit, that's so cool. That's why. It wasn't because I was like giggles. I didn't have the giggles. Like I was genuinely just like so. Like I don't think I knew how to even react. So I just like I just start laughing, because you can't explain it.
I don't know. You told me like last night you were like very like excited about the prospect of what that meant. Like that you were really there. You were in a futuristic. You said crystal? Did you
Yeah.
say crystal? Did I hear you say that?
Well, I describe it as like crystalline, like just because it was so like um clear. You know what I mean?
Like the
Like it
buildings
was.
are made of crystal or what?
No, the buildings were like kind of silverish black, and just huge and tall and.
Were they weird
uh,
geometric shapes?
mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's interesting because that's the description of a lot of cities in most Lovecraftian books, where people go to other realms.
Yeah, I
This one in
wouldn't be surprised.
particular,
Maybe
where
he
Cthulhu is from.
he might have maybe experimented with some similar maybe
Oh, I
compounds,
have no doubt that H.P. Lovecraft was doing something because the shit he wrote about back then, it was like incredible. It's like this little meek little man from where the fuck was he from? Rhode Island or something, or
yeah.
and like he's writing this kind of shit like in that detail, like
Well, and he's struggling, and it sounds like he's kind of almost like struggling to describe it, like almost as if his
oh
words like
God.
can't quite capture the amazement that he really
Well,
wants to
that was the
convey.
implication of like the doom and all that stuff. That's what made his work so great because he didn't describe it like you're going to be eviscerated and torn and
Mm-hmm.
dragged over the coals of hell. It was just like the implication of like losing your mind and eternal torture. But
Mm-hmm.
descriptions he did, if you read At the Mountains of Madness, it's one of his longest stories. Just every little thing in there, like the carvings, the detail he
Mm-hmm.
talks about in the carvings of each little depiction, like
Mm-hmm.
giant penguins, penguin droppings, and like what the fuck, 10-foot tall penguins? What the fuck is he talking about? But then
Yeah.
prehistorically, there were like giant penguins like that. But
Yeah.
in one part of the book, he's describing the old ones, which are the starfish kind of shaped beings.
Yeah.
He describes them for like a couple of pages in full detail. So it's not like he just pulled something out of his ass. It was like, what the? It's like he had to be there. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I've always thought that about Lovecraft. It's like he had to have been there. Like he had to have astrally traveled or had a really fucked up dream or done something because he gave you like about 2-3 pages of a description of this creature, like down to like the little fibers coming off its fingertips. And I was like, what the fuck? That is
Yeah,
crazy. And
dude.
that was in the 1920s when he wrote that shit.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah,
damn.
and believe it or not, like 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 I said, I haven't really done it in a while, like the DMT. Like I said, it's not one of those ones you want to do every day. Like you're not like how there's people that get high every day. They're
Yeah, like
always
all
like
my
smoking.
coworkers.
Yeah, like, I was gonna say, dude. Like this is
They
not
always
something
want me
that.
to do it. They think I'd be so cool and I like all this shit they do. I'm like,
Uh,
no, you don't understand. You got to try it. It's gonna be like this. I'm like, well, okay. Like it's not that
no,
I'm
dude, you wouldn't,
against it. I just have no desire. I just really don't.
dude.
Unless it's gonna help me astral travel. But then that's the point. If I'm going to astrally travel due to a drug, then I'm going to believe it's artificial. And I
Yeah.
can astral travel without drugs. It's just really hard to get there. Your mind has to be clear, and I have
Hmm.
so much shit going
Well,
on right now. It's just too hard.
yeah, it's weird because like I mean, I,
But
I
I've
I'm of a.
seen myself in bed. I've been in other people's houses where I've seen
Uh-huh.
artwork and like what color the walls were, and they were eating,
Hmm.
sitting at a table. I've done all that shit.
Yeah.
It's just you got to hone your craft at it really well. It's hard to do. It's really hard to do it well,
Hmm. Yeah.
especially
And
without
and
drugs. But
and like I said, I maybe last night, like that's like if I could describe like if there was like something that we both understand about it, it's like okay, that's probably what astral traveling is. And maybe like the DMT is just kind of like a shortcut,
well, that's
because
kind
like I
of what
said,
it's like.
your body makes it naturally. So I'm guessing when you meditate, it's almost like the same thing. You're just you're just using that DMT, like you're creating it versus taking it externally, getting it from an external source.
Well, one of the things you do when you
But
meditate
I think
is
if
you
you were
try to.
able to do, I think if you did DMT, you'd probably be like, oh yeah, I've been here before. Like be like,
Well,
yeah,
I've
I know
seen
this
stuff
place.
before. I've had like prognosticated, shall we say, like I've had stuff where I tried to do it at home and I couldn't do it, like in solitude. But I've had stuff where I was working two jobs for a while and I was in the parking lot at the barbecue after the first job, waiting to go to the barbecue. I just kind of fell asleep in my car and I saw myself talking to a bunch of Asian guys. And I was like, well, what the fuck does that mean? So I woke up and I'm like, whatever. And a few years later, I started releasing music by bands, and all my bands were from Asia. And I also, a few years later after that, started working at Cup Bop, which was all
Yeah.
Korean. So I don't, maybe I saw them like at that point. I don't know, but I mean, there's been a lot of stuff like that. Like I've seen guys from high school that I haven't seen since high school in the 80s. Had a dream about him at an arcade, and then the next day I went to a video arcade, and he drove right in front of me. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Little things like where
Yeah.
things have happened. I mean, it's
Well,
and
and
I've
like
astrally
I said,
traveled.
like,
Like
and that's kind of what,
now, that's me
like,
with no drugs.
mhm.
See, I'm just
But me with, so like, I
me
was
with
kind of
drugs.
at
Is
the
that what
point
you're
where
gonna
I,
say?
well, no, but I think I told you last night, like, if there's anything like once again, it's like, I don't know if it, I don't think I really, at this point, like, it's embarrassing for me to say that I did astral travel and I was in a different universe, but it felt too real at the same time. But what it did, like if there was anything I could take from it, is like all of a sudden, like there's something that I have like this sense of wonder again, you know, like, oh man, there is something else out there, or there really could be. But and like I don't even know, like in a weird way, whatever I saw, like I don't even think it's like a place that we go.
The idea of astral travel and like magic and meditation is that you calm your body down, you calm your mind down.
Mm-hmm.
So when all of that, you reach a state called
Nirvana.
death posture. It's called death posture. So it's
Oh.
like you're dead. Your mind is like really slowed down. Your bodily functions are slowed
Mm-hmm.
down so that your actually subconscious mind can come out. And there's old artwork and stuff where it shows like your body, like a ghostly form of your body leaving your solid body. And there's like a tether
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
connecting your head to your real body.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always said that's when you have dreams and stuff like that you're falling, that's when your real body is like starting to wake up. So your ethereal body like kind of like comes back home really quickly and gets like reeled in. And like that's when you have that feeling like you're falling and you wake up and stuff like that. I
And,
mean,
it's weird because like I don't know. been like the past couple of years or so, like almost every time I fall asleep, I have like a little vision of me falling off something. Like it'll usually be like either it could be like a cliff or like a side of like I'll be off a wall or into like
So your mind's
down
like
some stairs.
totally like ready to go. It sounds like you're ready to go. I think what you ought to do is not use chemicals and just like kind of clear your mind
Just
and start to like
try to
maybe do
meditate.
yoga. Yeah, do some yoga and meditate. You could probably do it because I can do it, but not
Uh-huh.
when I try to do it. It's when I don't try to do it that it happens. Like I'm sleeping in my fucking car, getting ready to go to work, I'm like,
Hmm.
but that's when I do it. Like the weirdest times where like upstairs in the break room at work or something, or downstairs in the break room, or like
Mm.
sitting in my chair with the TV blasting loud. And I'm like that's when it hits me, not when I'm in my room listening to ambient music. It used to be that way, but I can't do it anymore. It's like when you try,
Yeah.
it doesn't work, but when you don't try, it's like dating. Like you don't try and boom, there you go.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I know though, like with your coworkers always trying to get you to smoke weed and everything, I don't, man, I don't like the idea of like anybody who's even slightly like kind of hesitant on trying something out. You don't want to push that stuff on anybody. Like
well,
as
they're
much
not
as I'd
trying to
I'd
push
love
me
to
to do
see.
it. They just they like they can't believe that I'm like this metal guy that I am, and for so
Like
long, and that I don't do
you're almost
drugs. I
straight
haven't
edge.
tried
Yeah.
drugs.
Mhm.
But also, they really think that maybe I'd like it if I tried it, or that I'd like other stuff. Like they mentioned some of the stuff you said, like that I might like better. But
I, you
they're
know,
not
I
really trying to get me to do it all the time. But there are some people who are like, "Oh yeah, you'd be so much more cooler if you did weed." I'm like, "I'm fucking cool anyway.
no,
You're the pussy."
no, no.
So
I mean, there's part of me that'd be like, I think you'd think it is interesting, but like once again, like I don't think if there's any kind of like I'm not saying you're afraid or anything, but you don't know this stuff,
it's
right?
not that I'm afraid.
And
I just don't really have like an interest in doing it. And then, like
mhm,
I've always said, like the more I see people who do it, it seems like it
mhm.
runs their fucking life. That's all they care about, and they do it
Oh,
as much as they can, as often as they can.
mhm.
I don't think I
Yeah,
would be like that, but I
yeah,
just see that. I'm like, yeah, you pussies.
yeah.
So,
And I'm not like that. At least I'm not like that with. I would never. I could. I don't think. I don't think it's possible to be like that with DMT. It's just too.
I'm
I don't
like
know.
that with everything. I'm like that with music. It's too easy to like stuff everyone else likes. It's like it's
Mhm.
cooler if you like, and it's not saying I choose to be that way. I am that way. I just like stuff everybody else doesn't like, and vice versa. So, um, which brings me to my next point: is I listened to a little bit of that, some of that music you referred me to.
Which one? Oh, the Malefic Throne.
Malefic Throne. So you said it sounds really evil. Like I get maybe what you're talking about. To me, it just sounds pretty much like some really brutal, sharp, angry death metal, and it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I liked it. I mean, I didn't find it to be like, holy shit, I got to get this, but I would get it if I saw it somewhere. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
it's who? It's Steve Tucker and
Steve
who?
Steve Tucker and I forgot the other dude's name. Let me bring up the
But it was pretty good. It was I get what you meant. I didn't think it sounded particularly evil per se, but I think I know what you were talking about. It was like very,
just
very
sinister, like
aggressive, very dark,
yeah.
very powerful, very kind of evil. I guess evil in a way, but like you got the sense that it was like a morbid angelish kind of angry,
Hmm.
like sinister like thing. But
And I think they even covered a Morbid Angel song on the on that demo. They cover
have you heard of that satanic mathematician band?
mm-mm.
Morbid Angle.
What was that?
La 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 la. Yeah. Anyways, so it's
Oh,
Steve
they
Tucker and who?
cover
It's like,
a Sodom tune, Nuclear Winter. So it's
oh, Nuclear Winter. That's a good one.
yeah. But I think they also did it on one of their demos. They have a Morbid Angel. It is. Let me bring it back up here. Sorry.
Do you like Sodom very much? The band, that is.
I haven't listened to a lot of Sodom, believe it or not.
They're pretty good. I think you'd like a lot of their stuff.
I've been being sodomized by life right now. I'm being sodomized by my bank account. Um, so it's
Yeah.
okay. So it's Gene Palabicki, and he was in Angel Corpse
Yeah,
and
Angel
Bruce
Corpse.
Temple. Then you got Steve Tucker, and then John
Okay, that's
Lost.
where that angry kind of evil vibe is coming from then for sure, is that guy from Angel Corpse.
Okay,
So
and
Steve
then
Tucker, Gene, and who?
John Longstreth from Origin, Hate
Oh,
Eternal, and I
Langstreth,
guess
yeah.
he was also, I guess, in Angel Corpse too. So
He's been in a lot of bands. He was in Fetus one time they came here with
yeah.
Mike.
Mhm.
Yeah. He's one of those other guys that's in all the bands back east, like Origin, Dying Fetus.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, because good
There's
death
another
metal
one.
drummers are like impossible. So yeah,
You know, and
he's still
there's
there.
a danger too that when you get bands like that they start to sound the same. And I've always said that. Like there's a couple of
Mhm.
bands on my label where they have so many side projects that I kind of avoid taking them on like after a while because it's just like it's kind of samey. Like Norway had that problem with the black metal scene. Like after a while in black metal when it got popular, you
Mhm.
started to see like so many bands coming out as the same guys, like a guy from Immortal, a guy from Emperor, a guy from May. I'm like, fuck, come on, let's get some fresh blood out here, you know? And
Yeah, I don't.
that's why, like, oh, it's this guy from Grave, this guy from Morbid Angel. Like, okay, well, who fucking cares, you know? And that's something I wanted to bring up to you too. Actually, is
Yeah,
so I listened to Cannibal Corpse. I only listened to Skewered from Ear to Eye, not the whole album.
I love that song.
So I get the song, and I get why you like it. It's heavy, it's brutal. I get it. It's totally different from the Cannibal Corpse I remember hearing. So I do
Mhm.
need to maybe do a little bit of a deeper dive into that, like maybe sodomize their music catalog, as it were. Um, and I liked it, but again, it's just something that's like not necessarily blowing me away. And I think part of the reason why is when I
Mhm.
watched that video, Corpse Grinder in that video. What was that video? Blood Boil or Blood Sickness or something or
uh, Bloodbound, bleh,
something
Bloodbound.
like that. It's
Yeah,
from their
what?
newest album. Rutan's in the video.
Mhm.
So you've got Corpse Grinder standing there with his hair in his face. You can't even see his eyes. Nothing. Nothing. It looked cool. I'm like, that's cool. And at the end of the video, he stands there, and they just keep the shot on him for like 10 seconds. He's just standing there with his hair in his face, and the video is like 7. It's all like wacky and like cutting out and like garbled up. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But you see Paul, the drummer, and he's just kind of like, has this look like, oh, another day, another dollar, do 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 do, Tom roll, okay. And I'm like, well, that kind of ruined it for me a little bit. And then, and here's where I'm going with
He
this
does.
is
He does look like your, like your neighbor's
he just looks like
dad or
he's not
whatever.
that into it. He's not even wearing a black shirt. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? This guy looks like he's done. Like usually when guys in metal bands stop wearing black, that's a sign right there. It's like, okay.
Let me
Like they
see.
always said that about the dude, Mickey in Merciful Fate. Like King Diamond was like,
He's
this
wearing a
guy was
black
coming.
shirt in that video.
Is he?
Yeah.
Maybe there's just like a picture or an interview I saw where he's not wearing a black shirt. But King Diamond
I,
said like, yeah, it was Mickey Lane or whatever his name was wearing pink sweats on stage. That's when we knew it was the end of his time in the band.
so okay. So
What I'm
I'm
getting
gonna
at
tell you
is
this.
what?
Okay, finish your thought, and I'm gonna give you a final prediction on Cannibal Corpse. I
Oh,
have a
what I was
prediction on
getting
what's
at
gonna
is
happen with
part of
that.
the I think part of the reason why I'm not so enthralled by that kind of stuff and by American stuff
Hmm.
or like big name stuff, like even just Morbid Angel or whatever, is because I think there's more of a mystique to metal
Oh yeah,
that
for
makes it
sure.
more interesting. So when you're a younger band, like a demo band, that's why I'm so into black metal right now. All these demo bands I'm finding, like on the Order of the Black Arts or
Hmm.
Transmissions from the Dark, is what they're called now. It's like a YouTube page. But
Hmm.
there's all this great raw, like underground black metal, and you don't, and that's why black metal I think has the mystique it's always had, and it's not going away. Like Corpse Paint, there's still people doing that. And you're like, fuck,
Hmm.
really? But that's
Yeah,
why, because it lends
still
this air
bands
of
where a lot of times you don't even know like
it lends
the
this
identity of
mystery
the
to it.
members. Yeah.
Whereas you've got bands like Cannibal Corpse, where it's like just 5 guys with like whatever the fuck t-shirts, sneakers,
Uh,
and then they just kind of look like whatever playing do 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 do
yeah.
da 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 do do do. But these
They're
black
not
metal
scary as
bands,
people really. They're just like a couple of cool dudes playing some beautiful brutal.
and there's
Uh,
nothing wrong with that. I like
I
that,
like that.
but really, to me, the mystique of metal in the first place is that mystery that you don't know. And like Godflesh, when I first
Mhm.
heard Godflesh, I had no fucking clue what they look like, and I was disappointed when I saw the band photo. I'm like, that's a drum machine, and like this is the guy singing, this little skinny dude, and there's like this big dude that
Mhm.
looks like Jethro Tull on bass. Like, what the fuck, really? That just kind of, I'm like, what did you expect them to look like though?
Right.
But I think that's part of the
Yeah,
mistake why you still have people wearing corpse paint and they can get away with it. And black
mhm.
metal is always going to have this interest in it. And like Ghost, that's why Ghost is so popular because no one knows what they look like.
Or
And Cannibal's a
Mudvayne
good
or
death metal
Slipknot.
band, but you've got, they're just kind of like up there playing and they're just doing their shit.
Yeah,
But
but
Corpse Grinder looked cool in that video, so it was like it's kind of a mix of both in that video. But
I think it's good to have both. Like, I mean, I do like bands that seem like they're almost like the everyman's band. You know what I mean? I think Cannibal Corpse is that. They've been called like the AC/DC of death metal. They're like the ones you can just
yeah, they
throw
have a
on, right?
formula and they stick with it and they just keep doing it.
Yeah, and it's always good. It's maybe it's not like your favorite or anything, but it's always like you can throw on any Cannibal album and you're gonna get what you want. Like if it's like, okay, just some solid mid-paced old school death metal or whatever. But I have this prediction on Cannibal Corpse, and maybe we could leave it on that. Um, so you watched that video, right?
What?
Everybody, the Blood Blind video
Yeah, I watched it
by
a few
Cannibal Corpse.
times.
Mhm. So everybody looks pretty solid, like but it's funny you pointed out the drummer Paul Mazurkowitz. Yeah, I think it's just maybe because he cut his hair. He's kind of got like just dad hair now. And let's face it, they're in their 50s, you know.
Yeah, I get
Uh,
that.
but
But I mean,
I
the
do have
video was going for this dark edge. It had like it showed the background was like those skull mausoleum like cathedrals like from Europe, but it was tinted red, and the video was all jiggly
catacombs.
and
Yeah,
like just like crappy looking, like purposely like Seven.
yeah,
And
yeah.
like everything else, it was just like really dark and brutal. But I just noticed it like kind of the drummer just kind of stood out a little. I mean, he's sitting on his kit, so I mean, there's that. But I mean, they were going for this whole image of like where these dark, creepy guys playing in these like mausoleums about this brutal shit. It was a cool video. Not saying he looked stupid or anything, but I'm
And then
just
you got the guy working at selling you auto parts behind the drum kit. Um, but
But
I
I'm
have
just
this
saying, it's
prediction.
like that's part of the mystique of metal. I think that like a lot of like Americans kind of miss out on in a way, and like Absu,
But
because with one of the shows I posted recently, you were talking about Absu. They don't do that. They're like really mystical, and I think a lot of that too. It's like that's why Kiss started doing the spectacle shows they did because they were like, how come these hippie bands are coming out looking like they just woke up, scratching their balls, wearing nasty ass clothes? They sit down on the stool with their back to the audience and just play. Like, what the fuck's that?
right. So I have a Cannibal Corpse prediction, and I predict this will happen within
They're
the
gonna
next
come kick
five
my
years.
ass.
They're gonna come kick your ass. No,
I'm not talking shit about him anymore, though. I said
no,
I recanted a lot.
no. I'm happy about that. I'm glad you know. And it's like I said, it's like you don't have to love them or anything like that. But I think sometimes we misunderstand them, or we our whatever impression we have in our mind of certain bands are something that we just generated ourselves without really,
Well, yeah,
you know,
I admitted
thinking.
that on one of the last shows we did because I
But
was just tainted from all my listeners back in the days of my radio show. But
yeah,
what's your
yeah.
prediction?
So
Predict me.
my prediction is, so I think Rob Barrett, and I love that guy. He's the other guitar player. He looks like he's ready to call it a day. You know,
Why do you say that?
he's. I think I like this style of music. I think it, you can't play it into your 80s. I don't think. And I think everybody ages differently, and I think he's just kind of at that point where it's like the touring and the playing and everything. He's probably just ready to, like, he's not gonna die or anything like that, but he's probably just like, guys. And I kind of get that vibe whenever I see him like in recent performances. And then, but Rutan, of course, is just a maniac, right? He's in tip-top shape. Webster's in tip-top shape. Corpse Grinder's in tip-top shape. Paul, whatever, he's behind the drums. So I think Rob Barrett's going to step down, and they're going to get back Pat O'Brien.
Now you mentioned that before about Pat O'Brien. You really think?
I think that would just be massive. And I think whatever they write with that lineup, Eric Rutan, Pat O'Brien, Webster, it will just crush. But I think one of the main things holding back that is Pat O'Brien probably has a lot of issues now because of what happened, in Florida. Where he kind of lost his mind for a second. You know,
Yeah, but
um,
you said he was doing better.
he's doing better. Yeah, he's been playing an X-Horder, which is
Yeah.
really cool. But he belongs in Cannibal Corpse, I think. Like, but I bet it's difficult for him to go like tour, like, you know what I mean? Now that he has like some felonies, he's probably if
He
they can
won't be
get
able
that
to go to
sorted out.
Canada.
Yeah, so they'd have to somehow sort that out. If they can get that sorted out so he can start touring again, Canada and overseas.
See, I think maybe he won't rejoin the band simply for that reason, because he can't go to Canada. They don't care. They're like, if you have a speeding ticket, fuck you. You're not coming in here. It's like, I don't know about Europe,
Well,
how strict they all are, but I mean, at this
well,
day, at
no, I
this point in the
mean,
game, like everybody
well,
hates
even with
Americans.
Canada, like I mean, I think there's like a certain like if you have a certain amount of clout or celebrity or financial backing, you can probably get that taken care of. So I'm just saying, if they can sort that out to get Pat in the band, Rob Barrett's ready to go. He's ready to chill out. He's done his time.
Yeah, I told you, like when Mike was in Dying Fetus, he did it for like a couple of years. They did 2 records and like a couple of years of touring, but I think he had his fill of it. Not that he like was burned out or getting old. He
Yeah,
just had other
that's
interests, and like he's done touring now, and it's,
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
I mean, he'll probably, you never know. It's in your
I mean,
blood.
and
You're metal. You're
he's
always
still, yeah. I
metal.
was gonna say, like, and it's not even that, they still love the music and everything, but bands like Cannibal Corpse and probably like Dying Fetus and stuff like that, they want to be able to, they don't want
Hey,
to do
you
anything.
never
They
know,
don't want
man.
to do it half-assed, right?
Maybe if they can't get Pat O'Brien, maybe they'll call up Mike and ask him. He might do it then with Rutan in the band. They're friends, and
I
I
think
think he was asked to be in before, but he couldn't do it.
I think he might have been the one that I don't know if you watched the Cannibal Corpse documentary.
I haven't done
I
it.
th- it's really good actually, but it's
I
like three
watched like
hours long.
part of it, like where they talked about their old bands, and that was about where I left off. That was years ago. I wasn't really that interested, but
But they did audition someone like um when Jack Owen left,
well, I
which
don't know if
kind of
Mike
sudden.
auditioned, but I thought he told me that they were going to ask him to be in, but like at least that was the word on the
Mhm.
street. But he was touring with Fetus and like overseas, so. At
Yeah,
any rate, yeah, I don't know. It's actually, I saw a picture the other day on Facebook. Is Jack in 6 Feet Under now?
Jack Owen.
Yeah, the bald guy. That's Jack Owen, right?
Yeah, I wonder who he's playing with. I mean, he was in Deicide for a second.
Oh yeah,
So,
didn't Deicide pretty much call it quits too,
oh no, dude,
or maybe it
they've
was
been
the other
touring.
Deicide, the Alman, or I don't know. I fucking
Oh,
lost track.
so
It's so
I'm
dumb with all these
honest.
bands doing that, but I thought I saw a picture. It said he's in six
Oh, you're
feet
right.
under.
Okay. So the last thing he did was the last 6 Feet Under album in 2020.
Oh
That's kind
man,
of a cool full circle. No, Deicide has been playing their oh God, what is the album? It's their best
Legion.
album. Yeah, they've been touring and playing the entire Legion album.
See, I'm not a super big fan of Deicide, but that's actually a pretty good album. I gotta admit, that's a
That's a
good
good
one.
album.
I remember I
And
bought
Stan
that and played it on the air, and everybody just fucking like orgasm. Like everybody was calling me like for weeks to play that fucking. Like, oh my god, really new Deicide? I'm like, yep, new
yeah,
Deicide.
I do like I was listening to Stench of Redemption the other day. That's a good one
I used
because
to play Blast Fury on all the time because it was just basically Glenn Benton going, die, I died, I died. So I would dedicate it to people
okay.
all the time that I didn't like back then, and other people would call up and do the same thing. Like, yeah, I dedicate that song to my fucking ex-girlfriend. Like, all right, there you go. This is from Marty. Fuck off, bitch. And
Yeah, like I liked the Deicide albums that had Ralph Santola as the lead guitar player, because it's one of the few times where
I think they were on Earache. Was his first album with them, Scars of the Crucifix, wasn't it? Or it may have been. I don't know. I
Ralph
didn't follow
Santola.
Deicide.
His first album was Stanch for Redemption, and then he did Till Death, Do Us
Oh yeah,
Part,
no,
and To Hell with
you're right.
God.
That was like a lot later after that. So
Yeah.
yeah, they were on Earache for a while there too. I don't know if they still are, but
What label are they on?
did you ever listen to Vital Remains? Because Glenn Benton did some vocals for them on a few records, at least one record anyway, too. Do you
Yeah, they
like Vital
recorded the one.
Remains? What's that?
I haven't. Who's the guitar player? Is it Dave Suzuki on Vital?
Yeah, Vital Remains. That's basically his band, but they're like, I have their first 7-inch. They're like a really old band. They're from like Rhode Island, of all places, like a little tiny ass Rhode Island, and they're pretty epic. They don't have a song shorter than 5 minutes. Like a lot of their stuff is like 8-10 minutes. Like their first album, Let Us Pray, came out on Def Records, which is a sub-label of Peaceville. Pretty good record. It's like a lot of musicianship on there. Like they're kind not technical, but it's kind of musicianship on it. Long songs, things like that. You might want to check them out.
Isn't it kind of wild, dude? Just to think, like I'm just like still on Deicide's like wiki that they have 13 albums. Like blows my mind that a death metal band can actually just put out that many albums.
There's been a few shows where I've looked on BNR Metal and like Sinister has like a bunch of fucking albums. I'm like, I thought they were just kind of like a few albums and they disappeared, kind of like Monstrosity and Resurrection and all those. I guess Monstrosity has a lot of records out too, don't they? Or a few anyway.
Well, they got, I think, 5. They just put one out, I think, in 2020. It's quite good.
Okay, well that's not very many, but yeah, like Sinister had a bunch of records out. Like a lot of those bands, they really do. Like it blows my mind because especially if you're American, you're not really making a whole lot of money at it, you know.
No. But like let's see. Cannibal has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, Evisceration Plague, like their first album that I bought from them was their 11th album. That's wild. 12, 13, 14. They're gonna have 16 albums out. That's crazy, dude.
That's also speaking of Brujeria, they also have quite a few records up. They've got a new one coming out any day now, and they're going to be here in November. Actually, I might actually go to that. That was a good show.
Yeah, Cannibal will be there October 7th.
They are? I thought they
Yeah.
weren't coming here this year. Oh no, that's right. They're coming with Mayhem, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'll have to go check that out. I haven't ever seen Mayhem either. They've been here. I've always just kind of passed on it, but I was never like a big fan of Mayhem, actually. Really.
Crazy. Let's see. Too bad. Fucking Morbid Angel didn't have more. Like they should be like they should be on their 15th, 16th album, right?
Yeah, they kind of stalled out, with that whole thing with David. Once David left, you got to admit they just kind of quit producing. They've done like something here or there of it.
Well, yeah, their last one was what, Gardens of Disdain or Kingdom of Disdain, which was
Yeah,
what,
they're on
2018.
K, man. They got to hurry up. They got a lot of letters left in the alphabet.
A B C D E F G H I J.
By the time they get to Z, they're gonna name it Z9 Alpha. They'll be like a techno band.
What was their J album?
You told me it was something called Juvenilia. It was just like a live record.
Oh, really?
Yeah, isn't that what it is?
I guess they're on 11. I guess they have a pretty good catalog, but
Yeah.
discography. Well. Altars, Blessed, Covenant, Domination, Formulas, Gateways, Heretic.
No, I will tell you this. I bought some stuff from
They
Earache.
skipped J. H I. They don't
told
even
you
have
it's
a
Juvenilia.
Juvenilia.
It's a live album. In fact, I'm telling you, I just bought some CDs from Earache like a little while ago. I rebought Altars of Madness thinking I was getting like a remastered version, and I didn't. Instead, I got this like expanded dynamic range, whatever the fuck that means. It doesn't sound any louder than my old copy from 1989, but it has a bonus disc with it where it's live from that time period, and that's the one that's called Juvenilia, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
and also I bought Covenant again because I haven't had that one for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, I don't really like that album. I didn't like it then, so I got rid of it. Now I remember, I'm like, yeah, I didn't really. This one didn't really do it for me. Like I like the last song, like "Bow to Be Faithful." Like
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
a
cool
great song.
song. Everything else on there, I'm just kind of like, yeah,
Hmm.
doesn't really do it for me. Sorry.
I might have to give it again. I like World of Shit. That was a good song. But Altars and
Altars of Madness,
Altars and
Blessed Are the
Gateway.
Sick. Nah, I'm not a
That's,
not a Gateways fan.
I know you don't like Tucker, but
Well, it's not that. It's just it's not him that I. It's not that I don't like him. It's just when he's in the band, it's a totally different animal to me. I'm sorry. It
really?
becomes a more common death metal sound to me. It does. And
Hmm.
I re-listened to it since we've talked, and that thought stands. You know, it's just Gateways. It's just boring ass death metal to me. It's not the same.
Boo.
We've discussed that one though.
I know. To death.
Yeah.
To the
Let's talk
death.
about Kiss and Celtic Frost. We don't talk about them very much.
Yeah, we've only been at this for.
Tom Warrior should be in Kiss.
He
Then they could
should
do.
actually.
You could see Paul Stanley singing "Cherry Orchards," right? Cherry.
Hell yeah.
Orchards.
Blessed are the kissed.
Or
Like,
better yet, who are the Warriors?
who are the
Riff.
Warriors?
Now, yeah, was I right or was I right? Did that guy not look fucking like Paul Stanley
Oh yeah,
100%?
dude. I think I might like just
Mike
do a
Kimball and me used to
photo
laugh
grab of
about
it.
that uncontrollably. Everybody would like, "What the fuck's your problem?" I'm like, "Look at that guy." They're like, "Who's Paul Stanley?" I'm like, "Never mind, forget it." So,
I was listening to an interview where they were talking about Mike Kimball. I don't remember now. Might have been a Dying Fetus interview.
yeah, you told me. I think you said it was your California Death podcast thing. They talked about Dying Fetus.
Yeah, and Wicked Innocence once. Like they kind of mentioned him in passing. That's a band. Like I don't know. Have you ever reached out to them to just like re-release some of the Wicked Innocent stuff?
I haven't, but I think someone else is doing it. There's, I don't know if they're doing it or not. I have no idea. Most of their like most popular, most widely known stuff is on Headfucker Records, which is an Italian label. I don't know if they're still around, probably not, but I don't know if you can still get that stuff or not. But they were on that label with Cephalic Carnage out of Colorado, and
Yeah,
that
they were
label
always playing
Headfucker was all about like marijuana, so and it was Italian, which is kind of strange,
Wicked
but
Innocence.
anyway, um,
They
no,
reformed in 2021. Huh.
I'm going to re-release Slaughter Christ, Baphomet again, and Insane Aside, all the old Salt Lake thrash bands, and then I was going to do a CD of Disorder, but Matt already gave that away to someone else. But I'm going to still do the vinyl of it. So
Hmm. If you can give me a censored copy of the vinyl, I wouldn't mind having that. I just don't want any real gore.
a censored copy.
Yeah, I don't want to see the gory stuff. You know.
You
And if
baby.
that makes me a wimp, I don't want to. I don't like real gore, man.
I don't know. Like I could. I don't know what the layout's going to be like. I might have some of that, but that wasn't. It was and it wasn't Disordered style really. Everybody did that back then because everybody wanted to be like Carcass, but at the end of the day, Disorder's music stands on its own. It wasn't necessarily. It was gore, but it wasn't like. I mean, hard to
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
It had
It's
that element, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Like the front cover, it was. I mean, this is actually our first show we did. It was like I said on that. It was like a close up of a guy's head that was blown off with a shotgun, but it wasn't like the picture they wanted to use was of the body and the chair holding the gun, but of the head missing. But
yeah.
I
I did
thought it
not
looked
like
cool
that.
just to close up on it. It was just like this red pulpy stuff. You didn't know what it was, so
Yeah.
now you know.
All right. Well, maybe.
But anyway,
I
sounds
just
like
don't.
you're getting a little tired there, fella.
Starting to fade, man.
Yeah, you're getting old.
I know.
You have any other
Old.
metal anecdote? Oh, I was going to tell you one last thing. Speaking of Cannibal Corpse,
Uh-huh.
have you heard that there's like a prehistoric creature that was named after Alex Webster?
Oh, I think I remember reading something like that. Like, how cool is that? Like, how can you not like?
it's like a prehistoric giant worm or something, an aquatic worm, but I'm trying to look up what the actual name of it is, but
Let's see. Alex Webster.
yeah, it's not saying what the name is. Oh wait. Web Websteroprion Armstrongi. What? That's so
Armstrong.
fucking dumb. They have to like make it
Yep,
kind of Latin.
Webster Oprian Armstrong.
Websteroprion Armstrongi.
New
Why was
genus
it named
of.
after him? Did he know the guy who did it, or like what was the connection there?
Well, let me read the article here. Let's
Or the
see. So,
scientist was just like a
a new
fan?
study published via Scientific Reports by Mats Eriksson of Canada's. Okay, in honor of Cannibal Corpse Space's Alex Webster, the researcher named the new genus of extinct polychaetes, aka bristleworms. Webster Armstrong.
So apparently this thing was like a dune, like a worm, like a sandworm, but lived in the sea. It was enormous, according to what I'm reading here.
Yeah, so let's see. There's the new species of giant prehistoric worm. But I wonder what they mean by giant worm. Like, how big is it?
I don't know how you would be able to tell because I don't know I don't know how worms would fossilize, but maybe there's like something like an imprint left. But I don't know. Yeah, I always meant to tell you that the last couple of shows, but yeah, I don't know why he was connected to it. Like, I guess maybe the paleontologist was a fan, or maybe they're friends of his. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's if you read the David Vincent book, the foreword is written by um an astrophysicist, like the guy that like landed he was responsible for like landing a probe onto a comet. So
And he's a
and
fan.
yeah, he's a huge Morbid Angel fan, so he wrote the foreword to David Vincent's book. So it's an actual like doctor of physics.
It's funny how that happens, like you
Mm-hmm.
see people out in the real world, quote unquote. It's funny because I was watching a documentary about Kraftwerk, the band, the
Mm-hmm.
old German techno pop, like synth pop band.
Oh yeah,
And there was a guy on there talking about talking about him, and he had an Abruptum T-shirt on, like the logo of Abruptum, which is this
yeah.
crazy giant maze-looking thing with 666 and crosses in it. And
Oh yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? This guy's got an Abruptum shirt on. That's what led me to the documentary, and I thought, well, I like Kraftwerk. I'll check it out. It was an interesting documentary when it was all said and done, but yeah, random guy in a fucking Abruptum shirt, I'm like, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
You know who Abruptum is, right?
Are they like a French black metal?
No, they're from Norway. Actually, no, they're from
Oh.
Sweden. Sorry, they're not Norwegian, but they were connected a lot with the Norwegians. But after a while, they had a three-way battle going during all the murders and church burnings between the Finnish scene and the Norwegian scene.
Between the riffs and the orphans.
Well, it's funny, when I called Norway that time when Euronymous was murdered, we all called Norway. Like, we talked to his label, who took over his label. And we were like, what the fuck's going on? And the guy told us like what was going on. Then he mentioned that all of these scenes were at war with each other. Like, if you look at Impaled Nazarene, they're from Finland. Some of their CDs are like "fuck off" to Norway, no mail orders from Norway accepted, and all this kind of stuff. And they made fun of black metal from Norway a lot. And like, then the Norwegians were like making fun of the Swedish stuff. Like Fenriz hated Therion and all this other stuff. And
It's wild. It's almost like the
crazy
rap,
times.
East Coast, West Coast, all that stuff.
It is kind of like that. A lot of people I've told that like rap at my work like have hearkened to that, saying it sounds like that. I'm like, oh, it was way more brutal than that. Like,
Yeah,
rappers just shoot each other and that's it. These guys fucking stabbed each other. They burned down churches. They did all kinds of crazy shit. So
yeah, they crazy kids.
damn kids and their damn murder metal.
I know.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Well, that was a good one.
All
Like
right,
almost
man.
what,
Well,
2
you're gonna get
hours?
back to your TMZ, ZMT, what the fuck
TMZ,
is it? What?
DMT. No, dude, I don't
So
have
what's
any, like,
GMB? Like, we've talked about this before. GMB is what? That's a date rape drug?
I think he's talking about GBH.
No, that's a punk band.
No, you're thinking of
There's
CBGBs.
oh, yeah, he gave her some CBGBs. Now she's got the heebie-jeebies and won't talk to him.
Yeah, now she's got the
I don't know anything about drugs. I never did, and I'll never fucking be able to sort them all out because I just don't give a fuck. Metal is my drug.
don't ever get into it.
I just don't care to. I won't. I'll be the sober guy. Like watches everybody
Yeah.
else go down.
Yeah, you'll be my trip sitter.
I'll have to hold you down. Mark, you're not a Wookiee. Calm down.
It's not real. All right, brother.
All right. Well, hopefully the skinwalkers won't get you out there. Didn't we talk
Yeah,
about that last time? Yeah, I think we did.
yeah. I think I'm the only skinwalker here.
You got to wear clothes when you go out at night, man. Wyoming's not like Salt Lake.
I'm the skin flute walker.
Oh man, a skin flute walker.
Yeah.
That should be your new band. You could have a dark ambient, like tribal, like ritual ambient band called Skin Flute Walker.
Yeah. Just play nothing but skin flutes.
All right, you're getting weird. That's it.
All right, kiddo. Thanks, man.
All right, pal. Should I stop recording?
Yeah, you can do that if you want.
Well, hey, you know what?
What?